be B2B, it could be G2B, it could be best practices, it could be projects. So the combination of all of this, you can see there's a very conscious drive for technology upgrades, and that is today actually opening many new opportunities for the youth, especially for the youth of this country. The fourth is, of course, security abroad. I have spoken about multiple operations. The Indian Community Welfare Fund, the consular services, even something like students. Today, students know that whether it is their legitimate case for working hours or other difficulties that they face, sometimes even security issues, that the government of India will back them up, and back them up perhaps in a manner in which we didn't do before. And finally, I would say there is a cultural respect for us today. There is a cultural respect, and there are a variety of reasons for it. Part of it is also that we ourselves have globalized many of our practices. I think the International Day of Yoga is not just a shared celebration. I think it's also a shared understanding of what is happening in India. And that is extending to other fields, could be Ayurveda, it could be, in a way, our way of life. So anybody going out today, I think an Indian going out today is more likely to be, in a sense, understood by the rest of the world. And all of this, I'm not suggesting, is only due to government efforts. I think there are a lot of other independent processes in play. But certainly we help to guide it, channel it, encourage it. So if this is the picture I present to you, I would like to end very briefly with my sense of what has changed in 9 years. Why has this happened? I think it has happened, first of all, because where foreign policy is concerned, starting from day one, when you saw the leaders of our neighbors present at the oath-taking of the Council of Ministers in 2014, starting from day one till now, there has been strategic clarity. There has been strategic clarity in terms of understanding the world, in organizing ourselves into, a neighborhood first circle, extended neighborhoods, the Sagar, Africa beyond, the major powers. So how we perceive the world and how we interact with the world and how we develop policies for each of those and for combinations of these, I think that is to me a number one reason. And along with that, in this phrase which has been used, hesitations of history, that we are no longer a prisoner of our past. That if there are gains to the country, if there are benefits for our citizens, we are not held back because of ideological reservations. Along with that, I would say the strategic communication, that we are able, probably if you look at us, I would say not only us ministers, but even the secretaries or probably my colleagues who are in different MEA buildings, we are far more intensely active and interactive than those before us. I'm not in any way disrespecting those people. I think it is partly the situation. It is the big picture which is also, it is also the greater interest. The fact that the world wants to deal more with us. But what it has done is this dynamic of our capabilities and change, the world's interest, then our response, I think it has created today a virtuous cycle in diplomacy, which is part of this change. The third reason is a confidence in handling multipolarity and multi-alignment. Because one of the dilemmas, long-standing dilemmas for Indian foreign policy is, if the world is polarized or there are multiple centers of power, how do you deal with all of them? And I would suggest to you that we have done it, especially in the last 9 years, with a great deal of confidence, with results to show for it. And if you look at the major power centers, with the exception of China, for reasons which all of you are aware, I would say almost every one of these accounts has progressed, some of them in actually very challenging circumstances. A fourth reason is actually what has changed is the delivery focus. That it isn't just that you go declare something and then let it happen in its own speed, and sometimes they never happen. The sense within the government that there has to be delivery, there has to be timeline, there has to be budget, and this is backed up by monitoring. So, within the government, there is a very famous exercise called Pragati. And this Pragati model, which Prime Minister himself started, and which we have departmentalized internally as well, that we keep drilling down to see why is a project stuck, why is something not moved, where are our promises, what has been delivered, what is still pending. So the whole delivery monitoring, I think, aspect, that has been, if you ask me, one of the hallmarks really of the Modi government's administrative style. The fourth is, of course, what I said, the people-centric view. Improving passports could have happened earlier if people felt it was important. If you actually put citizens at the center, worrying about people abroad, there could be tourists, there could be seafarers, there could be students. Why, in a way you could ask yourself, why are we doing these operations year after year? Why do we battle for our students? Why do we push embassies to give visas? Why are we strengthening passport system? Because at the end of the day, I think this people-centric view of governance, of responsibility, which includes obviously diplomacy and foreign policy, I think that is something which has been part of the change. I would also say there's a greater pride in the country. There's a stronger belief in our culture, heritage, civilization. That has certainly, if our self-belief is stronger, certainly the world looks at you with greater respect. And as I said, at the end of the day, there is an international outlook which the Modi government has brought to bear, and that certainly boosted international cooperation. So the picture, and I'd conclude with that, the picture that I really present to you is at home a much greater, I would say, sensitivity to people's needs, a conscious effort to associate them with foreign policy, and you can see that most of all in the manner in which we have marking the G20 presidency, the Jan Bhagidari approach, which is quite unique in our diplomatic annals, I think in many ways reflects the Modi government's approach. But you can see it abroad. You all know that in the next few days, Prime Minister Modi would be undertaking what is only the third state visit. And he would be the first Indian leader to address the US Congress twice. The month after that, he's going as the chief guest on Bastille Day, I think July 14th. You saw the welcome, the respect that he got in Papua New Guinea, or the welcome that he got in Australia. I spoke to you about the responses of the Global South and the Voice of Global Summit, of the Global South Summit. So I think in all objectivity, the report card of the Indian foreign policy of the last 9 years under the Modi government is a very solid report card. It is a report card not just in terms of respect and outcomes. It is also a report card which tells every Indian citizen that they are more secure traveling abroad, that we have their back, tells every citizen that foreign policy at the end of the day is purposed for their benefit, for their welfare, with their interests at heart. And that is really the report card that we would like to put before the nation today. Thank you very much for your attention.